What if the biggest mistake we make as leaders isn't the failure itself, but failing to learn correctly from it? Think about that last project that went sideways, that initiative that didn't deliver, that moment where things just fell apart, that feeling of hitting a wall, the frustration, maybe even the embarrassment. It's a universal experience in leadership and life. But what if I told you that our instinctive reaction to failure, the urge to bury it, blame someone, or just move on as fast as possible, is actually sabotaging our growth, our innovation, and our long-term success? What if some kinds of wrong are absolutely essential for getting things right? Welcome to CEO's Library, the 1% bookshelf, the podcast that distills the most powerful ideas from game-changing books into actionable insights for leaders like you. I'm your host, and today we are diving deep into a book that fundamentally reframes one of the most charged topics in business and life: failure. We're exploring Amy Edmondson's brilliant work, Right Kind of Wrong: The Science of Failing Well. Amy Edmondson, a renowned Harvard Business School professor, is perhaps best known for her pioneering research on psychological safety. In this book, she takes that foundational concept and applies it directly to untangling our complex relationship with failure. We're going to unlock the science of failing well. We'll explore the surprising psychology behind why learning from failure is so incredibly difficult, even when we know we should. We'll unpack Edmondson's powerful, practical typology for understanding the different kinds of failure, because not all missteps are created equal. And critically, we'll equip you with actionable strategies rooted in psychological safety to cultivate resilience, foster innovation through what she calls intelligent failure, prevent those costly, frustrating basic mistakes, and navigate the inevitable complex system breakdowns with greater skill. By the end of this episode, you'll have a completely new lens through which to view setbacks. You'll understand how to stop letting failure be a dead end and instead learn how to make it your ultimate strategic advantage, fuel for both your personal growth and your organization's success. Let's get started decoding failure. Why does failure sting so much, even the seemingly small ones? A missed deadline, a poorly worded email, an experiment that fizzles, and why do those well-intentioned lessons learned sessions we hold after a project failure often feel so flat? We go through the motions, maybe identify a few surface-level issues, but true, deep organizational learning rarely seems to happen. What's going on here? Amy Edmondson herself stumbled upon this paradox early in her career. During her PhD research in hospitals, she expected to find that the best-performing medical teams, the ones with better collaboration and leadership, would logically report fewer medication errors. But she found the exact opposite. The teams that looked better on paper actually reported more errors. This puzzling result didn't mean better teams made more mistakes. It meant they felt safer admitting them. This discovery was the genesis of her groundbreaking work on psychological safety, the shared belief that a team is safe for interpersonal risk-taking, like speaking up about errors, concerns, or ideas. And this leads us directly to the core reasons why learning from failure is so challenging. Edmondson argues it boils down to three powerful barriers. First, there's aversion. We are psychologically hardwired to dislike failure. Concepts like negativity bias, our tendency to focus more on negative experiences than positive ones, and loss aversion, the pain of losing feeling stronger than the pleasure of gaining, mean that failure feels inherently threatening. It triggers feelings of shame, embarrassment, and inadequacy. Our natural instinct is often to deny the failure happened, deflect blame onto others or external circumstances, or just move on as quickly as possible to avoid that discomfort. We'd rather push the unpleasantness away than lean into it for learning. Second, there's confusion. We lack a clear, shared framework for understanding failure. Think about the popular mantras like fail fast, fail often. It sounds proactive, but is failing fast really a good thing if you're performing open-heart surgery or managing air traffic control? We tend to lump all failures together, treating a typo in a memo with the same gravity as a major safety breach, or celebrating a sloppy, preventable mistake as if it were a valuable learning opportunity. This confusion means we often react inappropriately, punishing honest mistakes that could yield insight or glossing over preventable errors that signal deeper systemic issues. Without discernment, our responses are inconsistent and ineffective. And third, perhaps the most significant barrier in organizational settings, is fear. This is where psychological safety comes into play. We fear the social and professional repercussions of failure. We worry about looking incompetent, losing status, damaging our reputation, or facing tangible consequences like a poor performance review or even job loss. This fear prevents people from speaking up when they see a potential problem, admitting a mistake they've made, or sharing the results of an experiment that didn't pan out. Without a baseline of psychological safety, where people trust they won't be humiliated or punished for bringing bad news or making reasonable errors, the vital information needed for learning stays hidden. Fear silences communication and sabotages progress. So take a moment and think about a recent setback in your team or organization. Which of these barriers, aversion, confusion, or fear, played the biggest role in hindering genuine learning? Was there a reluctance to even acknowledge the failure? Was everyone unclear on why it happened or what kind of failure it really was? Or was there an underlying fear preventing open and honest discussion? As a leader, you have a direct impact, especially on the fear barrier. What's one small step you can take this week to counteract it? How about explicitly thanking someone for raising a potentially difficult problem or sharing a mistake, framing it clearly as helpful information, not as bad news or evidence of incompetence? That single act can start to shift the dynamic. Now, if we're going to overcome the confusion barrier, we need that better framework Edmondson provides. Imagine a surgeon making a slip during a routine procedure versus a team of scientists whose groundbreaking experiment doesn't yield the expected results. Should our reaction, our analysis, our approach to learning be the same in both cases? Amy Edmondson argues, emphatically, absolutely not. Treating all failures identically is a recipe for disaster, or at best, stagnation. Think about the difference between a manufacturing assembly line striving for Six Sigma perfection, where virtually every deviation is a problem to be eliminated, versus a cutting-edge research and development lab, where encountering dead ends and unexpected results is not just expected, but necessary for discovery. The context, the goals, and the nature of the work are entirely different, and so our approach to the inevitable wrongs must also differ. This is where Edmondson introduces her incredibly useful typology of 3 distinct failure archetypes. Getting this distinction right is fundamental to failing well. First, we have basic failures. These are the ones that truly should be prevented. They occur in familiar territory, involve processes or tasks that are well understood, and usually result from deviations from established procedures or standards. Think of forgetting a crucial step in a checklist, making a typo in a critical code deployment, or failing to double-check calculations. Edmondson cites the staggering example of Citibank accidentally wiring $900 million due to a poorly designed interface and human error in not following protocol. These failures are typically caused by factors like inattention, neglect, lack of training, or sometimes flawed assumptions about a supposedly familiar situation. The primary goal with basic failures, prevent them whenever possible, and minimize their impact when they do occur through mechanisms like checklists, standardization, training, and clear protocols. There's generally little new knowledge to be gained here, beyond reinforcing the importance of diligence and existing procedures. Second are complex failures. These are often the most challenging to understand and manage. They typically arise from a confluence of factors within complex systems where different elements interact in ways that can be unpredictable, even if the individual components are understood. Think of major industrial accidents like the Torrey Canyon oil spill, the tragic Boeing 737 MAX crashes, or even large-scale project failures, where multiple small issues cascade into a major breakdown. These failures often involve a combination of human factors, technical glitches, environmental conditions, and organizational pressures. Warning signs might have been present, but were missed, misinterpreted, or ignored due to the complexity of the situation. The defining characteristic is the unforeseen interaction of multiple causes. Our goal here isn't just prevention, which can be hard due to unpredictability, but anticipation and mitigation. This involves developing robust system awareness, fostering open communication, so potential issues are surfaced early, and designing systems with resilience and buffers to handle unexpected events. Learning from complex failures requires deep, systemic analysis, often using techniques like blameless postmortems or focused event studies. Finally, and perhaps most crucially for innovation and growth, we have intelligent failures. These are the good kinds of wrong. They are the unavoidable, and indeed desirable outcomes of thoughtful experimentation in pursuit of a significant goal in new or uncertain territory. Think of Thomas Edison testing thousands of materials before finding the right filament for the light bulb, or a startup testing a new product feature with a small group of users only to find it flops, but provides invaluable insights into customer needs. Intelligent failures happen when we're exploring possibilities, testing hypotheses, and venturing into the unknown. They are intelligent because they meet certain criteria. They happen in new territory where answers aren't readily available. They are in pursuit of a worthwhile goal or credible opportunity. They are informed by existing knowledge and hypothesis, meaning you've done your homework. They are executed on the smallest scale feasible to learn the lesson efficiently, minimizing cost and harm, and critically, the insights gained are captured and reflected upon to inform future actions. The goal with intelligent failures isn't to prevent them that would stifle all progress, but to promote them, learn from them quickly, and use that knowledge to iterate and adapt. Edmondson also introduces a helpful spectrum of causes for failure, ranging from blameworthy actions like deliberate deviance or sabotage, through procedural violations and inattention, often linked to basic failures, down to hypothesis testing, intelligent failures, which she argues is praiseworthy. This helps us calibrate our response and appropriately assign accountability, focusing blame primarily on intentional wrongdoing or negligence, not on the inherent uncertainty of exploration or the complexities of systems. So, let's apply this. Take a recent failure, big or small, that occurred in your team or your own work. Try mapping it to one of these three archetypes: basic, complex, or intelligent. Was it a deviation from a known process, a result of multiple interacting factors in a tricky situation, or an outcome of a deliberate experiment? How does simply categorizing it change how you think about approaching the debrief, the follow-up actions, or even your personal reflection? Use this typology as a lens in your team discussions. Ask, are we doing enough to prevent basic errors through robust processes and attention? Are our systems and communication channels strong enough to anticipate and mitigate complex failures? And, crucially, are we creating the space and psychological safety needed to encourage and learn from enough intelligent failures? Let's dive deeper into those intelligent failures, because harnessing them effectively is the engine of innovation and progress. Think about organizations famous for breakthroughs, companies like 3M, known for serendipitous discoveries like the Post-it note born from a failed adhesive, or innovators like James Dyson, who famously built over 5,000 prototypes before perfecting his cyclonic vacuum cleaner. They don't succeed despite failures, they succeed because they have mastered the art of intelligent failure. Yet, there's a significant paradox here. Most organizations say they want innovation, creativity, and breakthroughs, but their underlying cultures and incentive systems often implicitly punish the very trial and error process required to achieve them. We reward predictable success and penalize experiments that don't yield the expected results, even if they generate crucial learning. This creates a chilling effect, discouraging people from taking the necessary risks. To truly leverage intelligent failure, we need to understand its characteristics, as Edmondson lays out. Remember the criteria: it has to be in new territory, exploring the unknown where answers aren't predetermined. There must be a credible opportunity or a significant goal driving the exploration. It must be hypothesis-driven, meaning it's not just random flailing, but a thoughtful attempt based on existing knowledge. You've done your preparation. The experiment should be designed to be as small as feasible to limit downside risk and resource expenditure, while still generating the needed information. And most importantly, learning must occur. The insights gained must be captured, analyzed, and used to inform the next step. This leads directly to the concepts of iteration and pivoting. Intelligent failures are rarely terminal events. They are data points that allow us to adjust our course. Author Jake Breeden talks about the difference between a mistake, which implies you should have known better, and a failure in experimentation. The latter provides feedback. It tells you, this path isn't working, try another. This iterative loop, try, fail, intelligently, learn, adjust, try again, is the heartbeat of innovation. Edmondson also highlights the framing difference identified by consultant Larry Wilson: playing to win versus playing not to lose. Playing not to lose prioritizes avoiding errors above all else. It leads to caution, conservatism, and sticking to the known. This is appropriate in high-stakes, low-uncertainty situations where basic failures must be minimized, but in new territory, where innovation is the goal, we need a playing to win mindset. This involves accepting, even encouraging, intelligent failures as part of the exploration process. It means focusing on the potential upside and the value of learning, rather than being paralyzed by the fear of things not working out perfectly the first time. There's also a dimension of privilege, often involved in who gets the license to fail intelligently. Often, senior leaders or designated R&D teams are implicitly allowed to experiment, while frontline employees or those in operational roles face much stricter expectations. Truly innovative cultures work to distribute this license more broadly, empowering more people to conduct small, safe-to-fail experiments within their domains. So, How can you apply this in your leadership role? First, ask yourself, where in our business could we genuinely benefit from more intelligent failure? Which strategic assumptions need testing? What potential markets or product ideas require exploration? Then, think about how you can design safe-to-fail experiments. This means actively seeking out small bets, pilot programs explicitly designed for learning, not just proving immediate success, and encouraging rapid prototyping, where ideas can be tested cheaply and quickly. Frame these initiatives clearly as learning opportunities. Crucially, leaders need to model the right behavior. When an experiment doesn't yield the expected results, leaders must demonstrate curiosity, not disappointment or blame. Ask questions like, what did we learn from this? What does this data tell us? What should we try next based on this insight? Your reaction sets the tone for the entire team. Challenge your team. What hypothesis could we test this week with a small, low-risk experiment? Make it normal, make it expected, make it safe. Okay, we understand why learning from failure is hard. Aversion, confusion, fear. We have a powerful typology to categorize failure: basic, complex, intelligent. We know how to leverage intelligent failure for innovation. Now, how do we build the organizational systems and the personal resilience needed to handle all types of failure well, consistently, and effectively? This requires developing what Edmondson calls crucial awareness competencies, both at the individual and system level. Think about organizations renowned for their reliability and learning capabilities. Paul O'Neill's transformation of Alcoa, prioritizing worker safety above all else, led to a system where reporting near misses and small problems was encouraged, preventing larger failures and dramatically improving overall performance. Or consider Toyota's production system, famous for the andon cord, which allows any worker to stop the entire assembly line if they spot a problem, a mechanism designed to surface and address basic failures immediately, fostering system awareness. Edmondson outlines 3 key types of awareness. First is self-awareness. This is about understanding our own internal landscape when it comes to failure. We need to recognize our inherent psychological biases, things like confirmation bias, seeking data that confirms our existing beliefs, the fundamental attribution error, blaming individuals rather than situational factors, and our personal emotional triggers, especially the feeling of shame. Cultivating self-awareness means developing metacognition, thinking about our own thinking. Are we operating from a fixed mindset, where failure feels like a judgment on our innate abilities, or a growth mindset, where failure is seen as an opportunity to learn and develop? Tools for building self-awareness include regular reflection, seeking feedback, and practicing techniques like reframing. Edmondson suggests a simple but powerful practice: stop, challenge, choose. When you face a setback and feel that defensive or blaming instinct rise up, stop, pause before reacting. Challenge the initial interpretation. Is it really that bad? Is there another way to look at this? Choose a more productive response. Curiosity, learning, problem solving. Self-awareness also involves the humility to apologize sincerely when our actions contribute to failure. Second is situation awareness. This involves accurately diagnosing the context in which we are operating. Is the situation relatively consistent and well understood, where basic failures are the main concern? Is it variable, with known factors but unpredictable interactions, complex failure territory? Or is it truly novel, requiring exploration and experimentation, intelligent failure domain? We also need to assess the stakes. Are they high or low? Misdiagnosing the context leads to applying the wrong approach, being overly cautious in an innovation setting, or too reckless in a high-stakes operational environment. Edmondson provides a helpful matrix, figure 6.1 in the book, mapping context, uncertainty, and stakes to guide the appropriate level of vigilance and approach. Effective situation awareness requires actively gathering diverse information, challenging assumptions, and engaging the team in assessing the landscape before acting. The third is system awareness. This is about moving beyond blaming individuals and understanding how the broader system, the processes, structures, culture, and interconnections contributes to failures, particularly basic and complex ones. Concepts like James Reason's Swiss cheese model illustrate how multiple layers of defenses can align perfectly for holes to line up, allowing a failure to occur. Or think about the dynamics revealed in simulations like the beer game, showing how simple delays and lack of communication in a supply chain can create massive system-wide oscillations and apparent failures at each node. Building system awareness involves looking for patterns, understanding feedback loops, both reinforcing and balancing, and resisting the temptation for quick fixes that address symptoms rather than root causes. Tools like blameless postmortems, process mapping, and focused event studies, like those used at children's hospitals and clinics of Minnesota to analyze medical errors systemically, are crucial for developing this perspective. It's about seeing the forest, not just the trees that fell. So how can you cultivate these awareness competencies? For self-awareness, try the stop, challenge, choose technique. The next time you feel defensive about feedback or a mistake, pause. Challenge that initial feeling. Choose curiosity instead. Ask, what can I learn here? For situation awareness, before launching your next significant initiative, explicitly discuss and assess the level of uncertainty and the stakes involved with your team. Are you aligned on the context? For system awareness, pick a recurring problem or frustration within your team or workflow. Try mapping it out visually. What are the steps? Who is involved? Where are the handoffs? What are the hidden interdependencies or potential reinforcing loops causing the issue to persist? Based on that analysis, what's one small concrete change to the system you could propose or experiment with? We've covered a lot of ground today, diving into Amy Edmondson's Right Kind of Wrong and the science of failing well. Let's quickly recap the core insights for your CEO's library bookshelf. First, remember that failure isn't just an outcome, it's data. Valuable data, if we know how to read it. Second, understanding the type of failure is absolutely critical. Distinguishing between preventable basic failures, multi-causal complex failures, and necessary intelligent failures allows us to respond appropriately and learn effectively. Third, psychological safety is the bedrock. Without it, fear dominates, silence prevails, and learning from any type of failure becomes nearly impossible. Fourth, intelligent failures are the fuel for innovation and progress. We need to actively cultivate the conditions where thoughtful experimentation can thrive. And finally, building resilience requires developing awareness, self-awareness to manage our own reactions and biases, situation awareness to understand the context, and system awareness to see the bigger picture and design better, safer, more adaptive systems. Ultimately, failing well is about choosing learning over knowing, embracing a growth mindset over a fixed one, and consistently reframing failure not as an endpoint, but as essential feedback on the path to success. So, here's your call to action for this week. Don't try to implement everything at once. Pick just one practice from today's episode and commit to trying it. Will you take a recent failure and consciously categorize it using Edmondson's typology, basic, complex, or intelligent, and see how that changes your perspective? Will you design and run one small, deliberately intelligent experiment focused on learning something new, even if the outcome is uncertain? Or will you consciously practice the stop, challenge, choose technique the next time you feel yourself reacting defensively to a setback? Whatever you choose, the key is to start practicing. Share this episode with your leadership team or your direct reports. Have a conversation. How can we together get better at understanding and learning from the right kind of wrong? To help you on this journey, head over to ceoslibrary.com. There you'll find the full transcript of this episode, along with helpful visualizations of Edmondson's frameworks and links to dive deeper into her work. Of course, if you want to explore these powerful concepts in much greater detail, we've included the Amazon link to buy your own copy of the full book or audiobook, Right Kind of Wrong, The Science of Failing Well, by Amy C. Edmondson, in the episode description. It's a truly essential read for any leader serious about building resilient, innovative, and high-performing teams. That's all for this episode of CEO's Library, the 1% Bookshelf. Thank you for tuning in. Go out there, embrace the learning that comes from failure, and lead with courage and curiosity. We'll see you next time.